All right, well, thank you for doing this with me. I'm Robert Frezza for Beauty
Oh,
News New York City.
okay.
Tell me about growing up in Texas. Did you always want to become a fashion designer?
No. I did not. Growing up in Texas is different. It's very conservative here. So growing up, I was really all over the place. I wanted to be everything from a ballerina to a firefighter, policewoman, a rapper, singer. Yeah, I was all over the place. But yeah, it really was not something I really thought I would want to be, but it was kind of in me a little bit because just even from a very early age, if my outfits and stuff weren't perfect, even as a kid, like my whole day was thrown off. Like my barrettes and everything to the shoes had to all coordinate. So I had that in me at a very early age.
All right. You mentioned that you were a tomboy as well
Yeah.
growing up. What made you get all into the feminine side of things?
I actually during college, I my idea of dressing up or being more feminine was just to make my jeans real tight. That was like I was not wearing a dress or a skirt. I just got the tightest jeans that I could find, and that was my idea of dressing up. But then during college, I actually worked for a premier cosmetic company, and when I started working there, I started noticing how the women there dressed, and so it was like,
Mm,
okay, and it kind of forced me to kind of step up my game. And then once I started, okay, exploring a little bit, I'm like, okay, well, this isn't that bad, dresses and skirts aren't really that bad. And so from there, I just kind of really started to embrace more of my feminine side.
very cool. Why bring together streetwear and chic elegance to the table?
I just feel like they just work together so beautifully, and I think it's a perfect representation of myself. Um, the tomboy era, and then then kind of merging into the more feminine side, the softer side, the chic side, if you will. I
Mhm.
just feel like they just work together, and I just like seeing the idea of soft and hard together. They just marry each other, and they just are so complementary to each other.
So do you think it's based on personal experience then, basically,
I
from
do.
your point
I
of
do.
view?
A lot of myself is definitely in what I create and what I design.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Your line is made exclusively for women, is that correct?
that's correct. Oh
Okay.
well, I say unless you feel like you unless it's really for anybody, but
Right.
I'm really designing for more of the curvaceous girls or guys that want to look nice and chic. And I noticed I used to be really, really skinny when I was younger. I was like 100 pounds soaking wet. And then as I got older, then, that weight just, it comes and it keeps on coming.
Sure.
And so what I've noticed is that the stuff it's either I can't find stuff in my size or the stuff that I find is kind of frumpy. It's not really stylish. It's like all the real stylish clothes are for like the size zeros and stuff. And so I want to let the world know that, us curvy girls can let y'all have it too. So yeah,
And you want to make your line comfortable as well, obviously.
absolutely. That's where
Yeah.
kind of where the streetwear comes in. Because
Yeah.
just because you looking chic and really dressed up, it doesn't mean you have to be uncomfortable.
Right.
Mhm.
Where'd you get the name Street and Chic from? Is this just the way it came
It
to
was
fruition?
well, one of my friends was describing, asking me like to kind of describe like what I want, and that's what came out. And so she was like, "Well, that's two S's, because my name is Sujuane Smith." And
Hmm.
so she's like, "Oh, that's like the two S's." I'm like, "Well, no," because I was like, "How am I going to make street and then chic?" Of course, the CHIC. She thought it was spelled SHEEK, and then a light bulb went on. I'm like, "Okay, well, I could actually spell it that way," and then it kind of is a play on my initials. So that's how we
Nice.
kind of got street and chic. Yeah.
Nice. You're hitting two of the most, I think, in my opinion, two of the most respected stages in New York City, Runway 7 and Rise for September's New York Fashion Week. How'd you get involved with both showcases and how are you feeling at this point?
I got involved with them. I was actually in fashion school in New York. Um, And then we did our very first fashion show. And then once you start doing fashion shows and you start looking at stuff, of course, on your Instagram feed, you start getting different stuff on the discovery page. And so I had seen both of them actually, Runway 7 and Rise. And so I was just like, okay, after I get this first one under my belt,
Mhm.
then I'll, you know, so I saved it, you know, and then after I did the very first one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back and apply. And so that's ultimately how I ended up with them. How I'm feeling, nervous, overwhelmed, excited, happy, you know, all the emotions are kind of running in there and tumbling over each other.
For sure. Is this your first New York Fashion Week?
This will be my second. I did one in February of this year.
Nice, nice. Okay.
Yes.
Do you feel there's a lot of competition in the industry? Do you think it's too saturated right now with fashion designers?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of competition. I don't know if it's necessarily too saturated, as long as you find whatever your lane is. And that's one of the things that I've learned how to do, not just in fashion design, but just in life, is
Hmm.
learning how to develop tunnel vision.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a spiritual person, so I believe whatever is for me is for me. And I also believe that there's more than enough money out there for everybody to eat. So, you know, I've just kind of figured out who my target audience is, who my customer is, and that's who I'm designing, and they'll find me, you know. So that's kind of how I move.
I think I think it's for anyone, you have to develop your own niche, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Yeah.
Um, how can fashion reinvent itself in 2024 and beyond? What do you think is going to happen with fashion? Because a lot of department stores are closing up or have closed up.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very scary, you know, because you see some of the really big respected companies and stuff going bankrupt or closing its doors, things of that nature. Um, I think even for me being a new designer, you know, coming into this game, I just think that I think people are gonna, first of all, the more sustainability is a big thing right now.
Hmm.
Um, because there's, you know, it's just so many clothes out there, just a lot of clothes out there that people don't wear, people get rid of, and that kind of thing. Because that's one of the things I'm trying to also incorporate into my brand is sustainability with stuff that I create and design.
That's good.
Sustainability and just probably more online. I see a lot of designers and stuff going back to being online because it's hard having a brick and mortar.
Yeah,
It's hard.
I was just gonna say brick and mortar could make a comeback with new designers in tow, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't really
Mm-mm.
see it happening.
Uh-uh.
It's quite a shame, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, it is. Because especially when you find a brand that you really like and you've never, and you discover a new brand, it's like, well, I don't know how the clothes are going to fit me. So I'm like, I would prefer to go in person to try it on to make sure that it fits well, you know. But
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
if you're online, just like, you know, kind of a gamble a little bit.
Yeah,
So
for sure, for sure.
yeah.
I want to thank you for your time,
Thank you.
Sujuane, and we're gonna see you I'm gonna see you at the Rise
Okay.
Showcase in
Okay,
New
good.
York. You're in Dallas right now, is that correct?
I'm
In
in
Texas.
Houston.
You're in Houston, okay.
Houston,
Hope
yeah.
you're surviving the weather. It's very hot right
I
now.
am. Yeah, I'm back and forth between here and New York. So I have an apartment in New York as well. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I'm
So
ready to go.
we'll see you for New York
Yes.
Fashion Week here in New York next month.
Oh gosh, yeah, don't say when you say it like that, it's like, oh, yeah, it is next month.
It's next month. It's coming
Yeah,
up.
I know. Fast.
Thank you for your time again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We'll see
Alrighty,
you.
bye.
Bye.